Hello, 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 everyone. Not sure if we have our friends here. Veronica Berrigan, coming to you live from this webinar platform. See, a couple of us are in here. Your chat has been enabled, so if you can hear me, please type in hi right here, please. And we'll get started in just a few minutes. We're going to give it one more minute just until we actually get to 5:30. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Just gonna give it one more minute and then we'll get started, okay? Oh, whoa. Hi, Myron. I'm so glad you can hear me. It's actually working. Whole new way of getting these webinars started. So I learned some new things today. Can you see me populating back and forth between my screen as well, Myron? I'm hoping that you saw me go back and forth. You should see a funky screen right now, and then I'm just going back and forth to all of the cool stuff. So this, at this point, you should be looking at my PowerPoint presentation. So hopefully you can see that it says creating a killer content strategy. And we're just gonna give it just a few more minutes, okay? I mean, a few more seconds, just 30 more seconds. Cool. Awesome, Myron. Thank you so much. Well, good evening. Thank you guys so much for joining. Veronica Berrigan here, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Webinar Wednesday, and we're starting these at 5:30 p.m. Thank you so much for joining me. I know there's apparently some type of baseball game happening tonight, but thank you for your commitment because this is the time to fine-tune our marketing strategy. So let's go ahead and get started, guys. I'm gonna show you my PowerPoint and we're gonna go ahead and get started. So creating a killer content strategy, what does that even really mean? I'll go over today a few things. One of the things that we're going to be going over is what exactly content marketing is. It's very different type of marketing. It's specific depending on your actual audience. We also are going to talk a little bit about why you want to take the route of content marketing. We're going to talk about your brand, your voice, who you represent, and how to find your niche, that target audience that you're going to be focusing on. I'll give you some tools, as well as we're going to get organized. We're going to talk about an editorial calendar and what your daily schedule should be looking like in order to execute at high levels. And then some next steps, tools you're going to need to actually make this happen. And before we start, I just want to tell you guys that for a realtor, the focus is about lead generation, right? Marketing, lead generation and marketing, it's our primary job. And what we're going to be learning today should really excite you guys because it creates the opportunity for you to monetize your passion and translate it into your daily business. Now, what do I mean by that? Through content marketing and through whatever message, whatever branding you want to consistently display to the consumer, you can really tell your story, which is the best way to sell because you can find others that can relate to who you are as an individual. So I call it monetize yourself because when you learn to tap into your passions, to the things you already love to do, you can monetize those activities. You know, you can monetize the message, who you are as an individual, especially nowadays where we can use a lot of the platforms to do a lot of our marketing for free. You know, social media, to name one of the biggest things, you know, is an area or a place where we can learn to share the story, share who we are consistently so that we can engage and find that consumer. So our intention for today's class is really to monetize our passions, our personality, who we are. So 2 things to get you going on this class is just be really open-minded and tap into that side of the brain that controls that creativity. because I'll be throwing a lot of different ideas at you. It shouldn't overwhelm you. It should really, really excite you and set you on the right path to success as far as creating an amazing killer content strategy, marketing strategy that's going to actually help you generate some leads and convert them into clients, right? So what exactly is content marketing? Content marketing is a strategic marketing approach focused on creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content to attract and retain a clearly defined audience and ultimately to drive profitable customer action. So there's a few key words in this phrase, guys. The first that stands out is strategic marketing approach. What do I mean by that? Strategic marketing approach, focus on creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content. So what does that mean? That instead of you just throwing spaghetti on the wall and hoping it sticks, that what you're doing is that through finding your niche and your audience, which we're going to talk about, through finding your voice, your consistent branding, slogan, whatever that looks like, right? Your colors, your picture that you consistently use, that we're actually developing a message of value. So it's not necessarily just listed or just sold card or your typical what's your homework with home worth, which is what a lot of consumers are interested in. It's really understanding the audience, understanding what their needs are so that you can be relevant. So it's really being strategic and taking the time to pick pieces that not only coincide and go with your brand and who you are as an individual, but also coincide with the audience that's actually hearing the message. So we're going to talk about these different strategies and also different methods of delivery. So you have the traditional ways of the paper campaigns, the mail campaigns and the phone calls, but now through digital age, we have more opportunity as well. So ultimately, it's about being relevant and having a message that is relevant so that you're looked at as an influencer, a person with the knowledge, not just somebody who's trying to sell to me. So content marketing's purpose is to attract and retain customers by consistently creating and curating relevant and valuable content. We talked about that, right? And then why we do that is because the goal is to enhance the consumer behavior, right? To change the perception of why they need to use you, pretty much. It is an ongoing process that is best integrated into your overall marketing strategy, and it focuses on owning media, not renting it. So what I mean by that is being unique. You can do this a lot, like with video, and then having that vehicle of delivery of like YouTube or Facebook through ads, or even AdWorks through social media branding. But it's really part of with Berkshire, we have thousands of templates that you can use, but it's really about implementing specific key pieces in your marketing strategy that are going to really be of value, that are going to be something that's going to get them to actually call you or go to the site. So basically, content marketing is the art of communicating with your customers and prospects without selling. So you're literally becoming this educator, like I said, influencer, a person who comes in with information they just can't find. And finding and tapping into that is key, especially because of the internet. Numbers are just staggering higher and higher every single year, where it used to be like 94% of consumers go to the internet before they call you. We've seen numbers now from like Zillow that talks about 97% of them. So they're pretty well educated, and they're very almost immune or numb to the thousands of messages that get sold to them every day. So this strategy is a little different, where it may take more time for you to come up with it, but it will actually stick a lot better. So it is basically non-interruption marketing. So instead of pitching your products or services, you're delivering information that makes your buyer more intelligent, so education. And then the essence of this content strategy is the belief that if we as businesses deliver consistent, ongoing, valuable information to buyers, they ultimately reward us with their business and loyalty. And that's what we want to do in today's day and age, because hype marketing and talking about how amazing you are is just not working anymore. So remember, content marketing is not about what you sell. It's really about what you stand for. And this is a quick or picture of the traditional marketing, which is interruption based, versus content marketing, which is more of, again, being an educator versus being someone who's just talking about themselves. So why would you want to choose content marketing? Why is it important? And here's some data that I've pulled just recently from online on the power of content marketing. So there's 200 million people that now use ad blockers. So there's a way to continue to marketing your marketing efforts without being blocked by the people you're trying to reach. The secret is the content, right? And your content is the message. In addition to being impervious to ad blocking software, good content is something consumers want to interact with, which makes it more effective and welcome on a foundational level. When you talk about online lead generation, this is especially key because these consumers don't really know you. They haven't spoken to you in person. So the message that you're delivering to them is much more, it's very important that you're personal and that you're relevant and that it's something that's valuable, because why would I give you my contact info when millions or thousands of people ask me for my contact info all day? What makes you stand out, and why are you somebody that I need to know in the real estate industry, even if I'm not ready to pull the trigger right now? Number 2, content marketing leaders experience 7.8 times more site traffic than non-leaders. And again, this is more on the digital aspect. The name of the game, guys, if you have a website, is to drive traffic to the website. The website is not there meant to stand there as a standing entity where you hope that somebody Googles one day and that they find you, because if that's your marketing or lead generation strategy, good luck, it's not going to work. And so the biggest thing is that when you are with high quality content, when you have valuable messages within your site, then your traffic is 7.8 times more than when you just have generic things on there. And Google loves that because it's unique and you do go up on the search engines. That's why blogging works, because if you're smart and you're putting in keywords that consumers are already searching for and you write your blogs around that, then you can really pull SEO. Again, it's about consistency. Anything you do is about consistency. So one blog a month is not going to get you enough traction for it to be worth it. When you're going to take any of these lead generation aspects, and if you really are truly trying to drive more traffic, it's consistent almost daily for blogging and 2 to 3 times a week. But it's unique, and it's in video blogging gets a lot more traction, of course. So basically, it gets to the heart of the readers. They experience drastically more site growth than their competitors. Emotional type of marketing is key. If you look at the big companies, they use messaging that pulls on the emotions of people. So content traffic or content marketing allows you to generate more traffic, which in the end is what we want. Number 3, content produces brand recall, which increases engagement. That's huge. And I love technology nowadays because you can make that happen pretty effortlessly. And in a lot of places, so cheap now. According to 2015 IBM Digital Experience Service, 56% of marketers believe that personalized content promotes higher engagement rates, because personalized content helps consumers remember a brand. Remember, it's all about perception. And it also encourages them to engage more personally with the company in question, thus introducing a positive feedback loop that benefits both the customer and the company. So when we're talking about content marketing, if you're targeting, your past clients, that's a specific message, right? That's what are they interested in now, right? And when you're targeting your sphere of influence, what are they interested in? And even within your farm area, when you start to really dissect it, and you start building messages specific to the tenants, specific to the empty nesters, specific to the people that are in your community, then you have a higher probability of actually having them engage with you. And yes, marketing and branding is all about perception. If they keep seeing your face everywhere, digitally and on paper and everywhere else, then they assume that you're the go-to person without even you needing to call yourself an expert. And that's the biggest drawback for realtors, so that they're not consistent with what they're doing, and they stop sometimes right before the miracle happens too. It's pretty crazy. Number 4, content marketing drives higher conversion rates. And we talked about that. If you get more traffic, of course, your conversion rates should also be higher as well, right? So when content marketing adopters and non-adopters are compared, the adopters have conversion rates that are nearly 6 times higher. That means that not only are you driving more people to your site, but that the likelihood of you converting a lead that goes to a awesome marketing message versus just your generic is much higher, 6 times higher. So I'm all about productivity and making sense of my time. So again, may take a little bit of time up front, but it works a lot better. Email marketing is one of the most effective forms of content marketing. I've told you guys this many times. If you don't have a database and you're not building a database in your real estate business, you don't own a business, period. Database is what you can eventually sell one day based on numbers, right? So when you analyze the impact of different content distribution channels side by side, it becomes clear that email offers the largest overall reach. Why? Because it doesn't cost you a lot, right? For every $1 spent, email gives back a whopping 38% in ROI and offers the broadest reach. Because email is personalized, targeted, and delivered directly to a customer's inbox, it's a wonderful and inexpensive way for marketers to gain an in to their customers. So we'll be going over different types of content marketing methods of delivery next, but email marketing is huge. And with our systems in the VAC, you have lots and lots of different marketing messages for depending on what type of lead you're dealing with. As you progress in your business, you're gonna, and thankfully the VAC allows for this, and also our resource center, which is our national site, has like 15 more tabs of other drip campaigns that you can use and copy and paste. But you're gonna wanna develop specific campaigns for follow-up, because the money's in the follow-up with each of the leads that you're working with. You know, you're gonna wanna develop a for sale by owner follow-up email campaign. You wanna develop a buyer campaign, and they're already pre-made for you guys. So the first step is just implementing it and starting that habit and putting them in and adjusting your system, right? But after like 3rd or 4th quarter, you should already start thinking about personalizing these campaigns. And also, you know, open rates go up tremendously, like 4 times higher when you embed videos into these email campaigns. So eventually what you want to do is you want to develop a video drip campaign that delivers the same messages, but now it's being done through video. Sorry about that, guys. I went completely ahead. 73% of major organizations hire someone to manage their content marketing strategy. Why? Because it's a lot of work. If I've done, you know, my goal was 1 post on Snapchat, 1 post on Periscope, and then 1 a week on Facebook Live. And that takes me about an hour every single day. So it's Monday through Thursday. And then Friday I do another one, right? Because it's all live content. It's not something that I can work on advance. And so my first strategy was a lot. It was more ambitious. I had actually scheduled more time to deliver this content. But as I learned the hard way, you know, 2nd and 3rd week out, and I saw how time consuming it was, I revamped and I changed my goal a little bit. So now my goal is only 4 days a week on the platforms, and I've eliminated down to from 5 platforms to only 3. So it'll change, and when you can eventually hire someone, like you can go to Upwork.com, Fiverr, then that's when it's going to really start to become more streamlined for you. At the beginning, you're on the sweat budget, you're using your time and efforts, and you're learning everything, which is fine because you also need to fine tune your message, right? But eventually you want to outsource this so that you can focus on the big picture, which is getting buyers in escrow and selling homes, right? But content marketing has become such a profitable marketing method that major companies around the globe are hiring people, of course, but creativity really has to come from you. The message has to come from you. So today I'll be going over how you can get started on creating a killer content strategy, even without hiring anyone or without knowing anything about technology. Sound exciting? Let me just check to make sure I don't have any questions before we go. Any questions at all? we're good. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so when I talk about content, what type of content am I talking about, and what actually is better to use? So this is just data that I pulled from the Global Consumers website, which tracks a lot of consumer behaviors. They track just data that helps marketers like ourselves generate more solid leads. So here's what the consumer is looking for, especially in the future. And I think the future to them and in the next 5 years. So what are the social media posts? 45% of people are looking at that. You know, I've told you many times that I think the goal of Facebook is to create it in that we don't ever have to leave from there, where we conduct all of our business, all of our socializing, everything is done inside of Facebook. And they're working really hard on this, and I wouldn't be surprised if this starts happening sooner than we think. So social media posts are gonna definitely win. There are two types of social media posts, obviously. The organic type, where you're not paying for targeted areas or targeted people based on their behaviors. Organic, the key to success on those is consistency, number one, and of course, value. Because if it's valuable, it's very easy for someone to share your post, and so many stories out there of people just going viral from one post, right? So you really got to find your niche. You got to find your voice and make it count. It could be different types of social media. It could be a blog post. It could be a video. It could be a flyer. It could be whatever it is that gets out into these platforms where they can share it and provide that information. News articles, of course, data, information that I wouldn't necessarily share like a news article link. I would share more something about the market, or I would create my own, you know, market trends is huge because most consumers don't have access to this. They have access to all the MLS, but they don't have access to the actual trends. And you know your market, you know the hype, you know the local market, you know what's happening in those neighborhoods. And so you can paint a very pretty picture. Video, 43% does not surprise me. Video should be on the top of your content strategy. Like I said, even for emails, open rates go from 11% to 53% when you embed a video. For conversion purposes, when you're doing a Facebook ad, I don't remember the exact figure, but it is huge what happens when you actually start using video instead of just writing. Another thing is video is tremendous on search engine optimization. Google loves video because there's not as much of it as there is all this print out there. So be good with being in front of the camera. Learn to educate the consumer through these platforms, through videos. You know, you can have a YouTube channel. You can have these videos shared on Facebook. That's one of the things that whenever you do create content, you have to have a re-strategizing or retargeting strategy, I'm sorry. And what that means is that you create one piece of content, which is a video, a flyer, whatever that looks like, and then you distribute that same content onto all the platforms. So it looks like you're on all the platforms. So that's key, because otherwise it will burn out if you're trying to create new content for each of the platforms, which is what I was doing. That was killing me. Online classes and educational gains, people want to get educated, right? And so with online classes, you have incredible opportunities like webinars. This is what I'm doing with you guys right now, right? Online classes are convenient. People are more inclined to do that instead of coming into your office for a home buyer's education seminar. So you want to use technology and educate through these platforms. You know, webinars on air is what I use. There's a zillion platforms. You can do it for free on YouTube. You can go live for free. So if you're going to implement this, you can reach out to me so I can talk a little bit about the different platforms. Iterative articles or tools, research content, blogs. Less and less people are subscribing to blogs, 29% only. And more, again, consistency. Business or work-related long-form content, pop culture or news. So again, what happens with the real estate industry and podcasts? You know, we don't do radio advertising. It's so expensive nowadays. But podcasts are huge because it's literally, you're branding yourself. Now you have your own radio show, and there's a lot of platforms out there that are free, completely free. Blog Talk Radio, which is one of the elementary ones. There's SoundCloud. There's a lot of different platforms out there that are completely free, so you can be that person of information. But if you're going to do a podcast, you're going to do it weekly. Excuse me. It's again about consistency and doing it over and over again. Okay. Okay, when it comes to content, what do you closely pay attention to? Again, video is right at the top. Social media posts, news articles, research content, online classes, interactive tools. So this is the year, guys. Really start thinking about how video is going to be your number one method of delivery of your message. It has to happen this year, guys, especially for 2017. That should be a huge part of your marketing strategy. There's so many things that we can do with video. So it's important that we start implementing that. Top mistakes to avoid with content creation. So here's usually what happens that blocks people. So the content isn't great. And this is what I talk about when you're just throwing spaghetti on the wall and hoping it sticks. If you do it consistently, you will win over someone who does nothing, right? Absolutely. You will generate those leads. But again, when you start to tap into your own creative side and to your own personality and your own messaging, then you can be really creative on what you want to put out there. There's no wrong or right. It's just based on what your personality and what you want to, how you want to educate and what you want to educate on. Your content isn't useful. It doesn't solve a problem. So whenever you're thinking about creating any type of marketing message, you got to think about what the consumer problem is and how you're here to save that or how to solve that. And we're going to talk a little bit about research of your audience so that you can really learn to fine tune a message based on their behaviors. You're selling instead of teaching. Remember, I'm the #1 realtor. I'm the local area expert. I sold 10 houses in the last 2 months. You know, it helps, but the consumer, because we're being sold to all the time, it's never about you. It's always now about me. So it's important that you want content that's actually teaching them, not just selling to them. You don't know what you want the content to achieve. Yeah, there's no clarity. There is no call to action. Everything that you put out there has to be consistent as far as branding. So having some type of mission statement, a slogan, but more importantly, it has to have a call to action. Go to my site to request your free market analysis. Go to my site to request your free loan pre-lock qualification. There has to be that ending message that drives them to move forward now, instead of just keep watching your videos over and over again. Your content isn't eternal. And what I mean by this, so if you're talking about short sales right now, it's a small percentage of our sales right now. So eventually, short sales may go away. So you don't want to talk about that necessarily. You have to talk about things that the buyer and seller objections, challenges that the buyer and seller has always had issues with, because then that content will never need to be revised. For example, you may want to talk about a loan program, right? But if that loan program is only going to exist for the next 6 months, then it's not something that will benefit you for long term. So when you're educating the consumer, think of things and struggles and put yourself in the shoe of the consumer. You got to really take off the hat of a realtor. And most of us, if you're a realtor, we've bought and sold houses left and right? So how did you feel? What were the biggest struggles? What were the things that kept you up at night? What were the challenges? Now, how do you tailor a message to fix that around that? That'll help you really narrow it down so you can deliver that message. Your content isn't ideal for your audience. This is key, guys. So this is, again, that whole throwing of the spaghetti on the wall. And especially if you're doing digital marketing, for example, Facebook, for the same amount of money, they will show your ad to more people if it's relevant to your people. So I always say this, let's say you're doing an ad in Sun City, and Sun City is an adult active community, Sun City Grand. And so if you did an ad there about back to school for kids, you know, Facebook would allow you to do the ad, but they wouldn't show it to as many people as if you did an ad to Sun City homeowners about, you know, how to transition from their current home to, you know, a retirement community or a retirement home. You know, those things are valuable. And because if your message is not valuable, social platforms and even, you know, like YouTube, Facebook, they'll just block you, because in the end, they don't want to look like spammers. And if they allow all these people to just go on there and do Facebook advertising to people that don't even want to hear or see their message, and a lot of people are going to leave Facebook because they just feel like this is a place where people are selling to me. This is no longer a place where I can socialize. So this is going to grow more and more with technology. So it has to be ideal. It has to be perfect for who you're targeting. It's not just about the message, but who is my audience? Who's going to get to hear this? Your content isn't optimized to your target social channel. That's another thing. I have a whole class that I did on social media etiquette. There's different people that hang out in different platforms. And I'm talking digital right now. You're not going to find the same consumer on Snapchat than you are on Facebook. So what you got to look at is, again, that audience, and then you got to find out where they hang out, and then you got to deliver the message where they hang out. I go back to what I always talk about, which is back in the days in the 90s, you know, there was the jungle, right? Where all of the lion went to hunt for the zebra. Well, what happened from the 90s to now is that the internet was born, right? And the internet was born, which created this amazing water hole. Just think of the internet as this huge water hole. Well, the zebra are no longer hanging out in the jungle because the water is over here in the water hole in the savannah somewhere, right? And so you as a lion, you got to stop going to the jungle, and you got to go to the water hole, because that's where they're hanging out. And that's the exact same thing with marketing. If your consumer doesn't open their mail, or, you know, is a different type of in a generation where all they do is hang out on Facebook, or they hang out on YouTube, or they hang out on Snapchat, then that's where you want to deliver the message. You don't want to just throw it out there and hope something happens, because you're not going to find the zebra anymore on that jungle. You got to go find them where they're hanging out now. You aren't using SEO to enhance marketing efforts. So headlines, keywords, phrases, and what's trending. I have a couple of sites where you can find this data for free. But I do want to say that your headline is 70% of your marketing message, believe it or not. I've heard many marketers use this before. And fear-enticed headlines really make people pay attention. For example, buyer beware or seller beware. Buyer beware, don't buy a house until you read this. Seller, you know, things that are going to get them to really pay attention to that call to action. So your headlines, and you can do a lot of research on this. You can Google, you know, headlines that convert, best headlines to use for the consumer. There's so many articles out there that tell you how to really strategically look at a headline and how to position it so that it gives you more and more leads. Okay, fine-tuning your message, branding. Okay, any questions right now? Just really quick, let me check. I think we're good. All right, branding has to do a lot with marketing. So I'm only talking about marketing. By the way, tomorrow, 9 a.m., it's going to be all about prospecting. This is direct, you know, leads, people that are right in front of you. Big difference than marketing. Marketing is not going to generate the leads immediately. Prospecting is where the money is going to be quicker. But this is part of the game. You have to understand the marketing and prospecting side of it. So let's talk a little bit about branding, guys. Let's fine-tuning our message. Step one. So first of all, what does your brand stand for? And you are a brand. You are part of the Berkshire Hathaway family, which helps you tremendously with buyers and sellers. Thankfully, Warren Buffett has made a good name for himself, right? That we can leverage and use. But you are a brand within a brand. You have to look at yourself as a business owner that can leverage the Berkshire name, but at the same time, being able to relate and engage with people based on who you are. So what's your reason for being? These are really important questions that you got to ask yourself. Why do I exist? To tell your story, you have to know your reason for being in business and be able to articulate it clearly. What is your purpose? What is important to you? What makes your product different from the competition? There is a whole slew, there's a bunch. You can go on YouTube, online, and you can Google telling my story as marketing. And it's genius. It's absolutely genius the way these marketing messages really tug at the emotions, because you're just literally being vulnerable. You're being yourself. You're putting yourself out there for who you are. And it's so powerful, especially on the digital age, to be able to deliver something so raw that it really helps people engage. Will everyone agree with you? No, probably, but who cares? You just want that percentage that does agree with you, because then you'll have the best transactions in the world as well. So never try to fake it. Just be yourself. What's your history? From shampoo to chocolate to logistic companies, people want to know the history of your products or services and how they came to be. Has anyone else owned your company? How did it come to be? Was there a creative or historical event? So this is key for us, like in our listing presentation and our buyer presentation, to be able to tell the story of Berkshire Hathaway. Is beautiful, right? Here's our history. Here's how we became about. And here now specifically is how I started in real estate. This was my first experience when I first bought my home, because that's how long you've been in real estate. Even if you're a new agent, if you bought your first home, 5 years ago, 30 years ago, that's when you first got into real estate. And so you can start telling your story so that people can find that way to relate, right? And then who are your main characters? That really coincides with the main characters as a whole for the Berkshire Hathaway. Even your broker, your team, your Warren Buffett and all of that. But it does also get down to the nitty gritty. The people, the key players that have influenced who you are today. So it could be your mom, your wife. It could be anything, right? Anything that drives you to create an amazing business that then in turn helps others, buy and sell homes. So who are the key players in your business? And then what's your business? Your mission. This is probably one of the most important things. So this is your business ultimate reason for being. Why are you in business? What call are you responding to? What problems are you trying to solve? There's this awesome site called missionstatements.com. You need to log on to that and you need to create your mission statement. Mine, I was always targeting millennials, Hispanic millennials, specifically incomes and ages and all of that. So my slogan was always was from my familia to yours. And so that just stuck. Everything I did had that. That was my main thing, what I was known for. And it fit my audience because I understood them. Another thing that really sells a powerful story is how have you failed? Failure often breeds success. Showing people how you failed along the way and transparently embracing those pitfalls demonstrates the humanity of your business and will help them feel more connected to you on a personal level. The internet, my son said this to me 2 years ago, I think he told me. But what's happening with the internet is that it's creating a lot of transparency. Look at what's happening with this election. Look what's happening in the world, right? More and more, we're able to really see the transparency of people, right? Less and less, we're going to be able to lie about who we are and what we do because of the internet. We can find out everything and anything about anyone, right? And it's beautiful, I think, when you're able to be vulnerable and tell of the struggles. It's insane, especially when you've been in real estate for so long as I have, to be able to really talk about, the worst times in real estate and compare it to what it is now. And even myself, how, I failed, but also learned from my failures. So the key is just vulnerability. And I think when you're thinking about branding, you have to have a lot of confidence in yourself. You have to be okay with who you are, and you have to be okay with being transparent and honest about sharing all of your story. Because I really believe that it tugs at people's hearts, and that more and more people were like that, I think more and more people would be okay not only with who they are, but also with showing that to the consumer so that they don't feel like, they're just in it for the money. This is a real human being I'm also dealing with that just happens to know a lot about real estate and that I can trust because of their honesty and who they are. So you have to know who you are before you can explain it to someone else. So this takes a lot of soul searching. Brands that don't have their core value propositions in place or have internal discrepancies about what they are even trying to say will never be able to share their story with the world in an honest and engaging way. It just doesn't happen that way, guys. So it's important that you really tap into this and make this the year that you make this an accomplishment. Whether that looks like a slogan statement and a consistent picture, or whether you're doing that through the messaging or picking a specific niche, you gotta really tap into this. And the minute that you start doing this, your business will change tremendously because you'll be focused and you'll be consistent. And that's what's key in this industry. Step number 2, who is your target audience? And the key here, guys, is research. Back in the days, like 2000, even 2005, the internet was not as huge as it is now. So all the data that we were looking for, we had to pay for it, right? To get people to give us this information. But really nowadays, to find out which type of content you should focus on, you got to keep these questions in mind, and then you got to learn to use and leverage the internet as well as other tools, which I'll go into in a little bit. So what are your buyers' personas searching for on Google? What is the intent behind these searches? What problems are they trying to solve? Which type of content makes them stop, click, and consume? When you ask yourself these questions, you can develop a marketing strategy around it. You can actually fine tune and figure out exactly what they need. So if you are focused in a geographic area, let's say you're focused in West Wing, and now you have the data of all these people in West Wing, then you ask yourself these questions within West Wing, and you do the research, you can come up with some really good, valuable content strategy or marketing that can help you convert. So this is a sample of just some of the questions that you should be asking yourself and researching. I pulled this from a website. I think I have the website at the end, but basically just have a sheet, and this is your brainstorming. This should be part of your business plan. And we are doing a business planning clinic on November 15th. So this is going to be part of it. This is where we're going to fine tune all of this. But some of the questions you need to ask yourself with the who is their background, demographics, there's a census website, there's a lot of different places. Key identifiers, their demeanor, communication preferences, their goals, what are the goals within the industry or within that neighborhood, their challenges, that's huge because that's how you develop the best marketing strategies. And then what we can do, what's gonna set me apart, how am I different? And then about goals, challenges, real life quotes. You can look at testimonials from people that have bought and sold, and what are they all talking about? What's the continuous message that they're saying, and how can you come in and solve that situation? And then the common objections, you can look at our scripts. You can look at that book of everything scripts and look at how the consumer always objects to your services and how you can now have a better grasp and idea so that you can develop a great strategy to combat those objections as well. And then you fine tune it to creating an actual marketing message that's going to make sense, and a very quick elevator pitch that you can translate very quickly, like literally in an elevator where you have very little time to actually say who you are, what you stand for, and what you're here to bring of value. So free listening tools. So we talked a lot about the power of the internet and different things that we can actually use to research our audience, right? So for monitoring overview, there's Google Alerts. I'm not gonna go into each of these. I'm gonna point out a few of them. They're all free, but basically for like Google Alerts, you can set yourself up on a Google Alert so that when anytime anybody is researching for homes in Phoenix or homes in West Wing or homes in Peoria or homes in Toronto or homes in Anthem, you will get a Google email notification stating that. It's not going to give you the person searching for it, but what you're going to get is data on whether the searches are going up or down and what they're searching for, you know, first time home buyers, and you can create marketing messages around that. In addition, I love google.com/trends. You can plug in there a keyword and you can see how it's performing today and compare it to how it was performing a year ago. So as you're developing your marketing messages, as you're picking these keywords that are gonna pop up, you can go on there and research what keywords are actually working better. This is a great tool also to develop amazing headlines, right? If people are already searching for something particularly, you can go on there and research it and use the right words in your messaging so that it converts at a much higher level. And then there's a lot of different other stuff, like Twitter has a bunch of things that you can do for free, where you can research and listen in on the consumer. And of course, social networks, Social Bakers, who'stalking.com, Ice Rocket. It's all based on searches on the internet. It's all based on what people are looking for right here and right now. And when you have this data and information, then you can, again, develop a crazy, specific, relevant marketing message. You can also do paid research, of course. There are companies that will sell you data. So one of them is actually corelogic.com. You can call them. They're pricey, but basically you can. All of us, by the way, guys, we're just a number in a computer somewhere. We based on our behaviors, right? And that's what technology has really done, and artificial intelligence and all that cool stuff. So because we're a number on there, we can create specific marketing messages based on your behaviors. And CoreLogic has tracked this information where you can pull this data and now build a marketing strategy around it. There's also other websites like semrush.com. Google Analytics, that one is more studying your website analytics, but it'll help you in understanding the traffic and the audience that's driving to your site. And also split testing, of course. Split testing has to do with creating content, creating a marketing message, and testing the headline, testing the colors and testing the visuals, testing the behaviors, never maybe changing the location, but testing a lot of different things so that in time, and this does happen, guys, especially like if you're doing Facebook ads, let's say that you're doing consistently, you know, 1 ad a week or 3 days out of the week, and you're focused on the area of West Wing, right? But what you're doing with split testing is you're changing the message, you're changing the visuals, you're changing the colors, you're changing the headline. Then with time, and I'm thinking it usually takes like 2 months to really start gauging. And especially if you're really good with analytics, you can start seeing the things that are giving you higher conversion rates, the messaging. You can start seeing what headlines are actually working better than others. And it is a big test. It's a big test because every neighborhood, every zip code, every location is different behaviors. And that's powerful though, because the more you do this in a long-term strategy, the more data you're already going to have. So you're going to become like a CoreLogic. You know, you're going to have all of this already because you've tested it yourself. So it's a great technology. Gives us a great way to really understand our area of focus and to really understand our audience as well. So what do I do with the content? This is what one of the biggest questions is, right? Like I've created a flyer, Veronica. I did video. I did a webinar, whatever it is, right? So included paid traffic and non-paid traffic. So here are your vehicles for delivery. You can do ads and organic, which are free. This is free. When you're doing the organic, you can do Facebook posts, Snapchat, Twitter, YouTube, webinars, ebooks. Those are all free. So where you're gonna create value in those is if the content is so amazing and so valuable that it's gonna go viral, or that people are just gonna, you know, they're gonna like stampede on each other because they just want it so bad, right? So that takes creativity and understanding your audience, and it takes building that right message, right? The second part, through paid advertising, through paid ads, I mean, you can do Google AdWords, you can do AdWorks, which is, you can go into our VAC, and then you can click on marketing, and there's a link there that will take you to AdWorks. It's definitely more of a branding mechanism where you can upload lists of people with their emails, and these ads will follow them around. You want to do this for past clients, for your sphere of influence, but you also want to do this for those, maybe you did a big community event, you know, you want to stay top of mind and you don't want to do mail because it's costing more, then you can upload this information in there and actually get them to see you consistently. You can do PR releases, of course. You can do print. You can create a flyer, valuable flyer. Right now, what's working a lot is, of course, what's your home worth? That's huge. But when you talk to them more specific about appreciation and how much homes have gone up in the last few months, so market trends, or also new homes. You know, new homes, there's a lot of inventory. A lot of people don't realize it. I mean, they see the signs, they see the new construction, but what are the benefits? You know, what are the benefits of using you? So you can do print still. It's just, again, being consistent. And then organically, which is really free, again, is the blogs, the emails, podcasts, and just being an educator. And right here on this side, we talk about the different, again, the delivery, the methods of delivery, and how people want to hear your message. 83% of people actually want to see social posts and updates, like we talked about and the other. Email newsletters are still very, very popular, guys. And we have our marketing department who can create a specific email newsletter just for you and your area of focus. So you should be in go-to marketing and should request it every single month. They will send you approved to make sure you like it, because you also can embed and on the first page, like, just list it just sold, or you can thank people for their referrals. I think about my vendors, and you know, one of my favorite newsletters that I like to read is my CPAs. I love my CPAs newsletter because it's very personal, it's fun, it talks about their trips, their family. They are always thanking people for referrals, so it's something that I look forward to. And he emails it and actually mails it, so you get to decide, but we have one for you already, you know, that our designer could do for you. There's no excuses as to why everybody in your database should be getting this email. News articles, which is similar to what I talked about right now, blog posts, and it goes down and down and down. So very high up is still videos, and ebooks is if you want to get into really writing. So if you don't like writing, you don't want to get into stuff like that. So these are all different ways to actually deliver the message. And then the 21 types of content that we all crave. I love this shot from that same consumer marketing company. But content that reminds us that life is too short. Content that reminds us that dreams can come true. Look at this. Look at all of these, how they're directly correlated with emotions, right? Content that gives us faith to believe for bigger things. Content that reminds us that we matter. Content that reminds us that the overlooked or forgotten basics. That's why it's so beautiful to just talk about the American dream of home ownership, right? Content that has unexpected twists. So some of the best, like just listed videos are those I've seen somewhere. Realtors are dressed up to par. They're doing a tour of this beautiful home and then they jump in the pool, or they're doing the video inside a bathtub, or things that are just like, you never expected that to happen, or a lion comes out of the den or whatever, you know, things that are gonna really stand out. Those are the things that are gonna go viral very, very quickly. Content that tells a story, we talked about that, you know, and that you have to tap into yourself first. Content that takes us along a journey, it's beautiful. You look at the big companies like Airbnb, look at Pepsi, look at Coke, and they're always telling a story. Whether it's during Christmas, if it's like that bear, I remember, or whatever it is, you know, they're taking us through this journey of, you know, self-reflection. And now there's like these emotional triggers that are reminding us to think of them, you know, when we do need that product. Content that inspires us to take action. Again, that's through education. Content that makes us laugh or smile. I'm telling you, the most creative just sold videos or even marketing trends. Like some of the most successful marketing weekly, because some people do it weekly, some do it monthly, are those that are doing videos at a local business in their neighborhood, and they're throwing in some funny stuff. You know, maybe you're doing your weekly or your monthly market update at your local pizzeria, and you're in the kitchen, you know, making a pizza or something, you know, and you bring in something that makes them laugh or smile. See, these things, anything that has to do with emotions is going to trigger them completely. Content that makes us cry, again, it could be joy or sadness. You know, back in the day, you could tell a story of a short sale and foreclosure. Right now, you can tell the story of a first-time home buyer or somebody who's moved up into a better home. Content that reveals secrets, market trends. Content that surprises us, again, a twist. Content that encourages to never give up. Those are always great, inspirational and motivational. And maybe you want to do a video on a testimonial of a tenant who thought they could never buy a house, and now you help them through it. Content that reminds us that we're one of a kind. That's when you can tap into yourself. Reminds us that there's more. Content that confirms our assumptions. Content that challenges our assumptions, of course. That educates us while entertaining us. Be fun, be creative. We don't have to be so stuffy. Be yourself, you know. Content where David defeats Goliath. Yes, all of us want this history, this hero story. And content that gives us a fresh point of view, even about common things. So yes, how do we make it fun? So that how do I make the whole process of buying a home and educating you on it fun? How do I make it so that it doesn't seem scary or tedious or something that I don't even want to learn about? So let's talk a little bit about content marketing tools. If you're going to be doing video, then I just highly suggest Splice, Videolicious, or just go live. Like, be bold, take risks, and go live and just share who you are. Go live at your open houses, go live at your listing appointments, go live at your buyer showings, go live wherever you have the opportunity to connect with, engage with people, and share a little bit about your life as a realtor. Snapchat, Instagram, Periscope, and always repurpose. I talked a little bit about this before. If you're going to do one video and you're going to upload it to YouTube or Facebook, then you should use that video on other platforms because it's easy. It's easy to find tools that help you repurpose and retarget it, or just even manually. You should pick at least 3 platforms you're going to be at, create one message, and then distribute it to all the other platforms. Text, BHHSA's marketing, we have impact marketing, and we have go-to marketing. So if you need flyers, you need printed door hangers, there's a million things you can use. And if you want to create your own, you can go to PicMonkey and pick up a ton of free visuals to use. And Canva.com is one of my favorite. Easy to use, but I can create quick messages on there, Facebook posts, social media posts. I can create art for my videos, things like that. So highly recommend. It's a free service. You're gonna need a website or landing page for sure. So you have your own Berkshire website that works phenomenally. There's different messages in there that you can use already, but more importantly, you can create your own messaging, put videos in there. We're having a class on that in November 14th, I think it is, on a Monday, 9 a.m. No, actually it's the afternoon. So it's gonna be like at 1 p.m. So just check out the calendar. And then there's other places where you can create more landing pages. And a landing page to the consumer just looks like a website, but it really, in all honesty, what it is just a lead capturing tool that tracks them. Also that we can build audiences around, and we can use different type of split testing. And then you create categories per type of lead. Basically what that means is you have your leads separated, and you have marketing messages tailored specific to that. You don't need to reinvent the wheel with everything I'm telling you, because all of it is in our marketing sites. It's just about picking and committing to choosing the ones you're going to be using over and over again. Step 4, you have to create an editorial calendar. You have to get organized. You have to settle into a content frequency pattern, and you'll learn You'll see how long it actually takes you. And at the beginning, it also takes you longer because you're so new to it. You know, you got to create that video. It takes you longer to go fix it and to go add this and that. But the more you learn and use the tools, the better you're going to get, and it's going to become easier and easier. Do have a goal and have an editorial calendar. You can Google editorial calendar and you'll see a bunch of different things pop up, or you can just do it on your Google or Gmail and just organize yourself. You have to determine your marketing messages first per type of lead or your audience in general. And then you got to determine the consistency you're going to stay in touch with them. And it's never too much, especially online leads. You got to be in touch at least a couple of times a week. And for everything else, you have to have at least a once a week type touch system where you're either contacting them through phone, text, email, or through strategic online targeted marketing. Step 5, launch and stay committed. Success doesn't happen overnight, just like regular farming. Over time, develop personality and style that's attractive to your audience. So here's just a really quick sample of what your daily schedule can actually look like. 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. marketing, content creation. 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. lead generation, which is prospecting. That's different. That's what I'm going to be talking about tomorrow's workshop at 9 a.m. And then 12 p.m. Lunch, because you should eat. 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. is follow-up because that's where the money is. And then just leave 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. open for appointments. If you stay consistent with the schedule, even if you just do this 4 times a week, because you may do an open house on Saturday or Sunday, you're still going to be putting in those 5 days. And if you stay consistent with this, I promise you that you will start seeing results in your business. So take the challenge and see what you can do with it. So who's ready to take over the industry? Do we have any questions? We do have a few minutes to answer any questions in case anything has come up. So let me just open it up to chat really quick. So what questions do we have? Any questions at all? Gosh, I think we may be good. I don't see any questions right now. I think we're good then. Okay, then what we're going to do is I'm going to post the replay of this webinar on our Facebook group page, of course, so you guys can watch it over and over again and just set up a time with me. If you're confused with your messaging, if you're confused with what to pick, set up a time for me. And of course, November 15th, you have to be at our business planning clinic because that's when we're going to fine tune all of this. So I will see you tomorrow. Oh, thanks, Myron. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I was just going to ask you to. So if you guys are on an Android, you should really use Video Show. Seems Myron has been using it and easy to use, and it's free. So we like free. Thank you so much, Myron, for sharing that. I was just going to ask you that again. So Video Show for Android users. Those people still on the dark side. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Because my son actually has an Android too. He thinks I'm the one that's falling behind. All right, guys. So thank you guys so much for joining. Apparently there's some kind of baseball game. So if you want to go watch that, that's going to be fantastic. And again, just reach out to me. If you guys have any questions, I'm here to assist. Thank you for joining. Next Wednesday, we have another cool webinar. I think next Wednesday, I'm actually going to be doing it on Facebook ads. So I'm going to be going through step-by-step process on what you should be looking at and how to post your ads. Thank you so much for being part of tonight's webinar. Have a very blessed evening, and I will see you all soon. Bye, everyone.